Welcome, everyone. My name is Peter Saundry. I am the Executive Director of the National Council for Science and the Environment, and it is my very distinct pleasure to welcome you here, you hardy souls. We have been running around in circles for the last 24 to 36 hours as we've been dealing with people's concerns about the blizzard. And obviously you must have waded through the, 6-7 foot of snow outside? We missed that one. That's great. However, we do know that New York and Boston and Connecticut has been hit very hard, and some of our speakers from those locations have not been able to make it here, so we've been making a few changes. There is only one change in today's plenary speaker lineup. I don't think there's going to be any changes to our keynotes, but there will be a few changes rippling through the symposia and the workshops. So please bear with us. For those of you that were here last year, you'll notice that we've changed the layout of the conference a little bit. We've got our exhibitions immediately outside the plenary hall and our posters at the back. We're trying to sort of make things a little cozier. I think that should work out well. And also this year, I am delighted to note that we are holding 13 satellite events. So I'm hoping that individuals at 13 universities and colleges around the country are actually watching me live right now, assuming all of the technology is working. And so let me welcome them. I should be able to tell you exactly. So we have them at great. We have them at the colleges of the Fenway up in Boston, at Rochester, Western Washington, University of Wisconsin, University of Vermont, at Frostburg State University, Ball State University, El Centro College. I believe that's just outside of, or actually in Dallas. George Mason University, Indiana University, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, Penn State, and Northern Arizona. So to all of you around the country, welcome to the 15th National Conference and Global Forum on Science, Policy, and the Environment. Our opening keynote after an introduction from Governor Richardson is going to be EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy. She is driving over from EPA headquarters. Her staff have told me there's a slight delay there. So what we're going to do is immediately, having started the conference, is to tell you you have probably about 5 minutes to relax. And as soon as we hear that she is... we are ready to go. So there is no delay. We are on time. Thank you. So let me introduce one of my favorite people to open the conference and introduce the administrator, and that is Governor Bill Richardson. Bill has got a resume that each sentence of it is something that most of us would aspire to for a lifetime of accomplishment. He has been a member of Congress, representing his district in New Mexico, then a U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, U.S. Secretary of Energy, Governor of New Mexico for 2 terms. He has pretty much done it all. With maybe one exception of one job, and I'm just noticing he walked in today. He is lean, he is fit, and I asked him, is he running for something? And he's being very coy. So let me welcome to the stage Governor Bill Richardson.
Thank you very much, Peter, and welcome to all of you. I thoroughly enjoy mainly the corridor conversations with many of you because I know I'm talking to men and women of great brain power and charisma and coldness. Let me just say that I'm going to give brief opening remarks, and then the administrator is the keynoter. So welcome to the 15th National Conference and Global Forum on Science, Policy, and the Environment. Energy and climate change is our topic of discussion. I'm honored to be the conference chairman without much power and delighted to open our proceedings. You know, it's been a very interesting year since I opened the Building Climate Solutions Conference. 12 months ago, we were studying the just released part of the fifth assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC. That was a section which discussed the physical basis of climate change. So what was the bottom line? The climate science is settled. The IPCC report is just another part of the staggering body of scientific research that connects our energy choices to costly climate disruption. The report is consistent with several other authorities, such as the National Academy of Sciences, the U.S. Global Change Research Program, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The report brought stronger language and greater certainty about climate change and its risks. Just as we know that smoking causes cancer, we understand that human activity causes climate change. In March, the second part of the assessment report about impacts was released. Here, the bottom line was, quote, "The effects of climate change are already occurring on all continents and across the oceans. The world, in many cases, is ill-prepared for the risks from a changing climate. Climate change is happening now, and we're all feeling the effects. And as the President noted in last week's State of the Union, 2014 was the planet's warmest year on record. Now, one year doesn't make a trend, but this does. 14 out of the 15 warmest years on record have all fallen in the first 15 years of this century. The latest IPCC report finds that impacts from climate change are widespread and they're consequential, and they are being felt on every continent and in our oceans. Now, over the past decade, the western United States experienced 7 times more large-scale wildfires than it did in the 1970s, including in my home state. Climate change has made it much more likely that we will suffer severe droughts like the ones that recently swept across California and again in the West and my state of New Mexico. In April, the fourth part of the assessment on mitigation showed that, quote, "Global emissions of greenhouse gases have risen to unprecedented levels despite a growing number of policies to reduce climate change," end of quote. Now, moreover, if we're going to limit the increases in global mean temperatures to 2 degrees Celsius, we must lower global greenhouse gas emissions by 40 to 70% compared with 2010 by mid-century, and to near zero by the end of this century. Ambitious mitigation may even require removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Now, this was very sobering stuff. But I think before we get discouraged, let me remind you of the positive progress that was made. In June, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, proposed the first ever limits on the nation's biggest source of the heat-trapping gases that are driving climate change, the carbon pollution pouring into the air from fossil fuel power plants. This is the most important step we can take to ensure healthy, productive lives for new generations. I'm not going to steal Gina McCarthy's thunder, but let me say, Gina, well done, and keep going. And I know she's already here, so I hope you heard that. In September, hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets in New York. My friend, the Secretary General of the UN, Ban Ki-moon, who did a great job in that climate summit, marched with many, as did Al Gore and many other ordinary citizens. This public outpouring, mirrored in other cities around the world, was significant. It demonstrates that people are getting sick and tired of inaction and are prepared to stand behind the kind of leadership that the President and Gina and others are providing. I expect that some of you here have done that similar kind of leadership as well. And I congratulate you because you're the scientists that give credibility to this effort. In November, President Obama and the Chinese president announced an historic agreement, unexpected, a great, brilliant surprise, which set new targets for curbing the carbon emissions of the two nations. With an agreement between the two largest economies and the two largest polluters in the world tackling climate change, what a signal that was. The biggest barrier to action has been removed. Now it's clearly time for everyone else in the world to step up and join the fight. And last month in Lima at the Conference of the Parties, the pathway for a major and successful agreement in Paris this December was laid out. In the coming months, nations are going to make public their individual plans. Progress is being made in carbon markets in Europe and California, the regional greenhouse gas initiative of the northeastern states, or so-called RGGI. China is experimenting, and South Korea launched Asia's first national carbon market a few weeks ago. Progress everywhere. And this is progress, tangible, real progress. And we shouldn't be naive, though. The progress we've made so far cannot be, by any stretch of the imagination, be confused with a long-term solution. But we've begun to get serious. Now, over the next 3 days in this conference, you all have an opportunity to add to the momentum toward success in Paris. Decarbonizing energy is at the core of addressing climate change. It is also at the core of a robust and sustainable green energy economy that will unleash a truly astonishing level of economic activity, of investment, and broad-based growth, generating the green jobs of the future. As governor, I knew that we had to move New Mexico forward in several important areas, including clean energy from an oil-producing state. And as a champion of addressing the threat of climate change, I took direct action to make New Mexico the clean energy state by requiring one of the first states in the country, utilities to meet 20% of New Mexico's electrical demand from renewable sources. We established a Renewable Energy Transmission Authority to deliver our world-class renewable resources to market. Because on the flip side, we knew that moving away from dirty fossil fuels and towards energy efficiency and renewable energy is a win-win-win, reducing the instances of asthma and other diseases caused by air pollution, or protecting us from extreme weather and severe drought, or all while adding potentially millions of good jobs and moving away from fossil fuels and towards a clean energy economy. In short, by embracing the fight against climate change, we can help make the United States a leader in clean energy jobs and economic opportunity, as well as environmental protection. This green energy economy is already here in part. The Solar Energy Industries Association recently reported this statistic. Since 2010, the average price of a PV panel has dropped by 63%. And 2 weeks ago, the Solar Foundation reported that in 2014, the U.S. solar industry employed 173,807 Americans, an increase of more than 31,000 solar jobs last year. This is a 22% growth in solar industry employment since 2013. Solar employment grew nearly 20 times faster than the national average employment growth rate of 1.1% in the same period. That's a green energy economy, and that's not too shabby. So over the coming days, the scientists and engineers among you will contribute insights into the latest breakthroughs and the staggering possibilities that exist in the green energy economy. Others are going to bring ideas on how to capture and store carbon from fossil fuels. Others among you will bring ideas on how to move and use energy far more intelligently and efficiently. Others will contribute insights into how policy and finance, business and civil society, and local and international efforts can help. And all of you are, of course, correct that there's much to be done in every area. Yet today I want to encourage you to think and go further. I want you to find ways to merge your ideas with those around you coming at the problem from different perspectives. Scientists and engineers to talk to the money people and the policy people and combine your ideas, your technologies, with finance and policy. Those of you from the United States, seek out partners from China and Europe and elsewhere. They are all here. Connect science and technology with business so that the fantastic ingenuity of our universities and our national labs move more quickly and effectively into the world where most of us live. There'll be opportunities over the next few days for each of you to form new partnerships across traditional boundaries with people with different areas of expertise and different priorities, and how to decarbonize the world's energy system. Please go out of your way to form such relationships with others here. The more alike they are, the more likely such a relationship will accomplish something new and something meaningful. Those of you know that the work that I've done most of my life has come from creating unusual connections across political and ideological boundaries in places like North Korea, Iraq, Cuba, and Sudan. Although Dennis Rodman has replaced me as a special envoy to North Korea. Those connections seem crazy at times, but they're surprisingly effective. So I also urge you to patiently and persistently engage in the policy arena, whether it's contributing to the public sessions on the EPA's Clean Power Plan, providing advice to your state legislators or to the good folks at federal agencies, trying to figure out how best to allocate public dollars. Engage with the policy process. Well, you're already here, so I know that I'm preaching to the choir.